Hi, in this brief video I want to talk about a retard called Assad. We're talking about a real stupid idiot called Bashar al-Assad. Now, this guy envies the West. He is a puppet of the so-called commies who are not commies anymore, supposedly. He is part of the Shiite fanatic Islam terrorists, and he is a terrorist, and he claims to be the legal president of Syria. Wow. Perhaps this retard, Assad, is an astronaut. Anyway, so back in 1967, what did Moscow do? What did the commies do? They gave weapons to the dictator, the fanatic Islamic dictator, Gamal Abdel Nasser, the guy who threw out all the Greeks out of Alexandria and the other cities. And what did he do? And the Russians also gave arms to the Ba'ath Party in Syria. So Abdel Nasser, what did he do? He closed the Straits of Tehran and he cut shipping routes to Israel's only port, Eilat. And he did that whilst being a puppet of Russia and wanting US money also. So in 1967, Egyptian and Syrian troops, coupled with Nasser's final rhetoric threatening mass slaughter, paved the way for war. Moscow fed the Egyptians and Syrians erroneous information about Israeli troop movements, so the Russian commies gave information to Arab Muslims to what the Jews are doing in their own land. Right, and the Israelis put an end to all it with a blitzkrieg attack that neutralized Russian Arab client states, Egypt, Syria, and other stupid Arabs, in only 6 days. Wow. And in the process seized the West Bank, Samaria, Gaza Strip, the Sinai, and the Golan Heights. Now, 50 years later, history looks set to repeat itself, because in Russia, they claim that they're not commies anymore. And they used to be the bad guys, but now they're the good guys. And 50 years later, they're doing the same stupid things again, the Russians. So what's the big difference? I mean, what's the difference really between Nicholas the Tsar, the stupid Tsar, the crazy dictator Lenin, the crazy dictator Stalin, and the rest of that stupid the rest of the commie dictators? And well, what's going on now? I mean, what's the difference? So, the theatre this time is in Syria. Now, but the precipitating factor for the next conflict, believe it or not, isn't Syria's leader, the stupid Assad, use of chemical weapons against its own people. It's Iran's most lethal proxy, Hezbollah. Now, America is fighting a war against ISIS, al-Nusra, and other Islamic groups that are not the legal governments of Syria, and they were also fighting Assad, who has nothing to do with Syria, and they struck him thrice. Obama did it once, and Trump did it twice. Now, so Iran's lethal proxy is Hezbollah. Tehran dispatched Hezbollah to buttress Assad's beleaguered Syrian troops. Now, Assad has very little troops left, in Syria proper. And Hezbollah went to help him. And they fought with al-Nusra. And they both had heavy casualties. And it's the Iranians who are holding the dictator Assad in power. Now, The first Arab child of Iran's Islamic Revolution is the Lebanese Shiite military organization, Hezbollah. And they are gaining experience from this war. Iran is arming Hezbollah in preparation for the next conflict with Israel. And Russians began to carry out airstrikes against rebel groups fighting to oust Assad of Syria, apart from arming stupid, fanatic Islamic groups like Hezbollah and Assad himself and the Huthis. They provided Assad with arms and other provisions via its Mediterranean naval base in Tartus. Right. And they're also giving ground and air forces, intelligence assets and hardware to protect the proxy Assad. Hezbollah has benefited from Russian air cover to fight against Syrian rebels. Iran and its Lebanese proxy have tried to exploit both Russian presence and the fog of war to move what Israelis have called game-changing weapons from the war zone to Lebanon. Now, according to one senior Israeli officer, it's unclear if these sorties. Anyway, so Israel has attacked and destroyed many convoys of Iran and Russia and North Korea to Hezbollah. The Israelis have killed many of these fanatic Islamists in Syria whilst fighting ISIS and the other groups. So Israel is fighting the proxies, Iran and the proxy Hezbollah in Syria and the rebel groups. And of course, like everyone else, they want to see Assad out of power. And everyone, apart from Russia and its allies, wants a mild Sunni group ruling Syria that will be faithful to the West and will have nothing to do with stupid people like the Russians. Now, the anti-aircraft missile, they gave anti-aircraft missiles, the Russians, to Assad, and they threw Scud missiles, and they threatened that Russia will come to their aid if the Israelis strike again. Now, it's doubtful that Russia would fire on an Israeli aircraft. Right. Now, the longer Iran and Hezbollah have to perfect their weapons smuggling infrastructure, the higher the likelihood of a successful transfer of game-changing weapons. Hezbollah has tens of thousands of rockets, anyway. But the Israelis now have warned repeatedly that the next war with Hezbollah could be one in which Israel will seek nothing less than the total defeat and ousting of Hezbollah from Lebanon. And, well, that will be the day when the Jews free Lebanon from Hezbollah and other fanatic Islamic groups. And let's not forget that Lebanon had 65% Christians, who were nice people, were like Europeans. And then came Hezbollah, and then came the Palestinians, who started to slaughter the Christians. And most of the Christians fled the country and they went to America and Canada and Europe. Now, Soviet actions in 1967 led to the Six-Day War. It was the communists who gave arms to the dictators. The Ba'ath Party, which later evolved into the Assad regime, NASA, and other Islamics, their proxies. And Russia, who is supposed to be good now, as opposed to the bad Soviet Union, risks repeating the mistakes it made half a century ago. Mistakes that will have a profound impact on the region today. So shame on Russia for giving arms to the stupid dictator Assad. Now, Assad is a Shiite. The Shiites represent only 10% of Syria. Only 10%. Now, let's suppose that the 10% Christians and 80% Sunnis. So Syria needs a mild Sunni government that will be friendly to the West. The Russians are arming Iran, Hezbollah, the Huthis, Hamas, Assad, and they hate and they envy the West. They want to slaughter all the Christians, all the mild Sunnis, and anyone who's friendly to the West. Assad has used, they've discovered that Assad has crematoriums where he kills people. He threw chemical weapons again and again, and he did it some time before. Right, and he's also in league with North Korea, with Kim Jong. So all this madness. I mean, nearly half a million people dead, so that Russia can have a puppet in the region, a fanatic Muslim puppet in the region. Right, Assad has to go. A mild Sunni government, and ISIS and al-Nusra must go also, from Iraq and Syria, and a mild Sunni government that will be faithful to the West, and they will have nothing to do with Russia. And of course, Hezbollah and the Palestinians have to leave Lebanon, Christian Lebanon. And of course the Christians in Lebanon are afraid, so they can't really talk about what the Palestinians and what the Hezbollah are doing in their country. Because they're few in number, they don't have weapons anymore. They're afraid, and they say, okay, okay, let's live together, because we're afraid, Right. Now the sad thing is that ISIS have killed many of the Christians, sadly. So they did a good job of killing Hezbollah and Iranians and the traces of Assad, the Shiites, but they did a good job of doing that, right? They lost many men fighting the Maya government also, but sadly they killed the Christians, the 10%, roughly 10% of Syria. So shame on Russia for backing Islam in 1967, 1973, and they're doing it again and again and again and again. Why? Because Russia envies the West, Russia envies America. That's why. Russia is backing all these fanatic Muslims because they hate and they envy the West. And let's not forget that Lenin gave money to Kemal Atatürk in the 1920s, in 1920. And you have over half a million Greeks dead, 1.5 million Armenians killed, 750,000 Assyrians killed. Why? Because Lenin envies the West, and he gave money to Kemal. And now we have idiots like Assad and Kim Jong being backed by Russia. Why? Because they envy the West.